First contact. The galactic hegemony's grand fleet stretched across the darkness of space like a metal constellation, thousands of warships arranged in perfect formation. Their hulls gleamed under the distant light of unfamiliar stars, a statement of power visible from neighboring systems. For centuries, the hegemony had ruled unchallenged, their technology and military might crushing any species foolish enough to resist. Admiral Krell stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Immortal Dominion, admiring the view of his armada through the vast observation window. 8 arms folded neatly behind his back, the tall Octavian skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns of pride and anticipation. The latest intelligence reports had proven correct. They had found the homeworld of a new spacefaring species on the edge of the Orion Arm. Preliminary scans complete. Admiral, announced Sub-Commander Vex, her insectoid mandibles clicking with excitement. The third planet shows significant technological development, but their defenses are primitive. Their orbital stations are minimal and their fleet, if we can call it that, consists of fewer than 50 vessels. Krell's upper eyes narrowed while his lower ones remained fixed on the tactical display. What species calls this system home? They call themselves humans, Admiral. They've only achieved faster than light travel within the last century. Their technology appears to be cobbled together from various scientific principles, inefficient and unrefined. A dismissive gesture rippled through Krell's tentacles. Another young species to bring into the fold. Prepare the standard subjugation protocol. I want their governments to witness our power before we open communications. Admiral, interrupted the sensor officer, we're detecting an anomaly. A single ship has left the planet's orbit and is heading directly toward our fleet. Krell blinked all 4 eyes simultaneously. A single ship? Are they sending an envoy? Unclear, sir. It's moving at remarkable speed, faster than anything we've seen from their world. Its signature doesn't match any of their other vessels. The Admiral moved to the central holographic display as the image of a sleek, angular ship materialized. Unlike the bulky, utilitarian vessels orbiting the human homeworld, this ship was different, streamlined, almost predatory in design. It was small, perhaps a quarter the size of the Immortal Dominion, with no visible weapons systems or engine ports. They're sending a message, Admiral, the communications officer announced. Audio only. Let us hear their surrender, Krell said, mandibles spreading in what passed for an Octavian smile. The bridge filled with a calm, measured voice speaking in perfect galactic standard. Attention, Hegemony Fleet. This is Captain Maya Chen of the Earth ship Defiant. You have entered sovereign human space without authorization. Power down your weapon systems and withdraw immediately. Silence fell across the bridge, followed by a wave of clicking laughter from the officers. Krell joined in, his skin flashing patterns of amusement. This human has spirit, he said. Respond with our standard greeting. Let them know that resistance is futile and surrender is their only logical choice. The communications officer transmitted the hegemony's ultimatum, the same message that had begun the subjugation of hundreds of species across the galaxy. The response was immediate. We understand your position, Admiral Krell, came Captain Chen's voice again. However, humans don't surrender to threats. This is your final warning. Krell's skin flushed with anger. How do they know my name? He hissed. Scan that vessel. I want to know everything about it in the next 60 seconds. The sensor officer worked frantically, but frustration showed in his movements. Sir, our scans are. They're bouncing back. I can't penetrate their hull. Impossible, Krell snapped. Nothing can deflect our quantum resonance scanners. Evidently, the humans can. Sub-Commander Vex observed quietly. The Admiral's patience evaporated. Enough of this farce. Target that vessel with the forward batteries. Let's show these humans what happens when they challenge the hegemony. Weapons locked. Admiral. Fire. The Immortal Dominion's main battery released a blinding stream of plasma, enough energy to vaporize a small moon. The bridge crew watched expectantly as the blast streaked across space toward the lone human ship. What happened next would be recorded and studied in hegemony military academies for generations, if the hegemony survived the day. The plasma beam, capable of cutting through planetary crusts, simply disappeared. Not deflected, not absorbed, but vanished completely a meter from the Defiant's hull, as if it had entered another dimension. What just happened? Krell demanded, all four eyes wide with disbelief. Before anyone could respond, the sensor officer shouted, "Energy surge from the human vessel." The Defiant hadn't moved, hadn't changed position or orientation. It simply existed, and then a ripple seemed to pass through space itself. The ripple expanded outward, invisible except for how it bent the light of distant stars. When it reached the hegemony fleet, 3 destroyer-class vessels on the perimeter simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris. One moment they were there, and the next they were gone, leaving perfectly spherical voids in space where they had been. Panic erupted on the bridge. Officers scrambled for explanations, for defensive countermeasures, for anything that would make sense of what they had just witnessed. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Krell roared. Spread formation and return fire with everything we have. The hegemony fleet broke its perfect arrangement, ships scattering in all directions while unleashing their full arsenals. The void lit up with weapons fire, plasma beams, quantum torpedoes, gravity lances, all converging on the impossibly small target of the Defiant. And all of it vanished before touching the human ship. "Admiral," Sub-Commander Vex's voice had lost its earlier confidence. "I believe we may be dealing with technology far beyond our understanding." "Nonsense," Krell snarled. "They're tricks. Illusions. No species develops this level of technology without our knowledge." The Defiant moved for the first time, gracefully changing position to face the heart of the hegemony fleet. A message came through once more. "Admiral Krell." Captain Chen's voice was steady, almost sympathetic. "Your weapons cannot harm us. We have been studying your hegemony for decades. We know your technology, your tactics, your biology. We chose this moment for first contact because we wanted to be ready." Another ripple emerged from the Defiant, larger than the first. When it passed through the fleet, 20 more ships vanished without trace. Not just destroyers this time, but cruisers and even a dreadnought. Ready for what? Krell found himself asking, mandibles tight against his face in what his species recognized as fear. "Ready to ensure you understand that humanity will not be subjugated. We will not be another trophy species in your collection. We come in peace, but we come prepared for war." The tactical display showed grim numbers. In less than 5 minutes of engagement, the human vessel had neutralized almost 40 hegemony ships without sustaining a scratch. Krell's mind raced. Centuries of military doctrine offered no solutions for this scenario. The hegemony had always relied on overwhelming force and superior technology. They had never encountered a species with capabilities like these. "Admiral," Sub-Commander Vex suggested carefully, "perhaps we should consider diplomatic options." Before Krell could respond, the sensor officer called out urgently, "Multiple new contacts." "Admiral." Human vessels approaching from all directions. The tactical display updated to show dozens, then hundreds of ships emerging from what appeared to be fold points in space. Technology the hegemony had theorized but never mastered. Unlike the mysterious Defiant, these ships matched the profiles of the vessels they had observed orbiting Earth. They were waiting. Krell realized aloud. The Defiant was never alone. Captain Chen's voice returned, calm as ever. "Admiral Krell, you have 2 options. Retreat immediately and inform your hegemony that human space is off-limits, or continue this engagement and lose your entire fleet. We would prefer to avoid unnecessary loss of life." The bridge of the immortal Dominion fell silent as all eyes turned to Krell. The Admiral stood rigid, his skin now pale and unreadable, the luminescent patterns frozen in shock. "You have 1 minute to decide," Captain Chen added. For the first time in his long career, Admiral Krell of the Galactic Hegemony faced a choice he had never anticipated making. The implications stretched far beyond this single encounter. If he retreated, it would signal weakness to the entire galaxy. If he fought, he might lose not only his fleet but his civilization's grip on the stars. "Sir," Vex pressed gently, "your orders." Krell's eyes fixed on the image of the Defiant, so small against the vastness of space, yet suddenly the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. "Prepare for full attack," he ordered, his voice finding new resolve. "Target the Defiant with everything we have. If we can destroy their flagship, we may yet turn this battle." Sub-Commander Vex's compound eyes reflected the tactical display as she reluctantly relayed the orders. The remaining hegemony ships, over 900 strong, began to move into attack formation. The humans had made their statement. Now Admiral Krell would make his. The battle intensifies. "Admiral, the human fleet is not advancing," reported the tactical officer, confusion evident in his voice. "They're maintaining a defensive perimeter around their home system, but they're not pursuing our redeployment." Krell studied the holographic display with all four eyes, trying to decipher the human strategy. The mysterious Defiant remained at the forefront of their formation, seemingly unperturbed by the massive hegemony fleet regrouping for a concentrated assault. "They're confident," he muttered. "Too confident. No species faces the hegemony with such casualness." Sub-Commander Vex moved closer, keeping her voice low. "Sir, our analysis of the first engagement suggests the Defiant possesses some form of dimensional displacement technology. The ships didn't explode. They were removed from our reality." "Impossible," Krell hissed, though with less conviction than before. "Such technology would violate fundamental laws of physics." "As we understand them," Vex corrected gently, "the humans may have discovered principles unknown to us." The Admiral's skin rippled with patterns of deep thought. Throughout his long career, he had conquered systems by exploiting technological superiority. The hegemony's research divisions had always ensured they maintained that edge. Now, facing a species that had apparently leapfrogged centuries of development, he felt unmoored. "Signal the reserve fleet," Krell decided. "I want every available warship in this system within the hour." "Sir, that would leave 3 sectors vulnerable to." "We are already vulnerable," Krell snapped, his bioluminescence flaring with anger. "If the humans can defeat our main battle group, what would stop them from striking our core worlds? We end this now, with overwhelming force." The bridge crew worked in tense silence, preparing for the largest coordinated attack in hegemony history. Fold points began opening throughout the system as reinforcements arrived. Battle cruisers, dreadnoughts, and specialized weapons platforms designed for planetary subjugation. "Our numbers now exceed 1,500 vessels." "Admiral," the tactical officer announced with restored confidence, "the human fleet remains at approximately 300 ships, including their Defiant." Krell's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. "Prepare the Void Lance." The bridge fell silent. The Void Lance was a weapon of last resort, banned by the hegemony's own laws after its devastating use in the Proxima Rebellion. It created a localized singularity, effectively a small temporary black hole, capable of crushing everything within its radius. "Admiral," Vex protested, "the use of singularity weapons was prohibited by the Council after." "I am invoking Emergency Protocol 963, Krell interrupted. "The Council authorized discretionary use against existential threats. These humans qualify." As the massive weapons system charged aboard the Immortal Dominion, the communications officer suddenly straightened. "Admiral, we're receiving a direct transmission from the Defiant. Captain Chen is requesting to speak with you. Private channel." Krell hesitated, then nodded. "Put her through to my command station." The holographic display before him shifted, and the image of a human appeared. Captain Maya Chen was not what Krell had expected. She was small, even for a human, with dark hair pulled back from her face and eyes that reflected the stars themselves. She wore a simple uniform with minimal insignia, yet carried an unmistakable air of authority. "Admiral Krell," she greeted him, her expression neutral. "I hoped we might speak directly before more lives are lost." "You destroyed 40 of my ships," Krell replied coldly. "Those lives are already lost." A flicker of something, regret, perhaps, crossed Chen's face. "No, Admiral. Your crews are alive and unharmed. The quantum displacement field doesn't destroy matter. It relocates it. Your ships and their crews have been transported to a secure facility in the Kuiper belt of our system." Krell's lower eyes blinked rapidly as he processed this information. "You expect me to believe you captured 40 ships intact?" "I expect you to verify it," Chen replied. "We're transmitting their coordinates now. Send a scout ship if you wish. But understand this, we could have destroyed them. We chose not to." The tactical officer confirmed the incoming data, adding, "Sir, long-range scans do show hegemony energy signatures at these coordinates." Captain Chen continued, "Admiral, humanity has no desire for war. We've studied your hegemony for decades. We know your history, your conquests, your methods. We prepared accordingly." "If you know us so well," Krell countered, "then you know retreat is not an option." "Not retreat. Coexistence." Chen leaned forward slightly. "The galaxy is vast, Admiral. There is room for both our civilizations." Before Krell could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. "Admiral," the sensor officer called out, "we're detecting massive energy buildup from the Defiant. Nothing like before. This is beyond our measurement capabilities." On the holographic display, Chen's expression hardened. "We detected your void lance powering up, Admiral. I cannot allow you to deploy such a weapon." The Defiant began to change. Its sleek hull seemed to shift, panels reconfiguring and revealing structures that had been hidden beneath. A soft blue glow emanated from ports along its length, growing in intensity until it rivaled the light of the system's star. "What is happening?" Krell demanded, both of his crew and the human captain. "Quantum displacement drive, full manifestation," Chen explained calmly. "What you've seen so far was a fraction of the Defiant's capabilities. We've been holding back." The tactical display showed the impossible. Energy readings from the single human ship now matched those of the entire hegemony fleet combined. The blue glow stretched outward, forming a perfect sphere around the Defiant. "Last chance, Admiral," Chen said, her voice tinged with genuine regret. "Power down the void lance and withdraw your fleet." Krell's skin flashed with patterns of defiance. "The hegemony does not surrender to lesser species. Fire the void lance." The immortal Dominion shuddered as its ultimate weapon discharged, sending a concentrated beam of dark energy toward the Defiant. At the same moment, the blue sphere surrounding the human ship expanded rapidly. When the two forces met, reality itself seemed to buckle. The void lance's beam twisted in space, its trajectory bending impossibly until it curved back toward the hegemony fleet. Not toward the immortal Dominion, but toward an empty region of space between battle groups. A black disk formed where the energy concentrated, expanding into a swirling vortex. The artificial singularity the weapon was designed to create. Ships nearby began to drift toward it, caught in its growing gravitational pull. "What have you done?" Krell roared at Chen's image. "We redirected your weapon, Admiral," she answered quietly. "The singularity will collapse in approximately 3 minutes. You have that long to move your ships to safe distance." Chaos erupted as the hegemony fleet scrambled to escape the pull of their own weapon. Dozens of ships, too close to the event horizon, were stretched and crushed as they fell into the artificial black hole. The rest fired emergency thrusters, breaking formation in their desperation to escape. Through it all, the Defiant and the human fleet remained perfectly stationary, protected by the blue energy field that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. As the singularity began to collapse upon itself, Captain Chen spoke again. "Admiral Krell, this demonstration was necessary but regrettable. We've shown you a fraction of what we're capable of. Your Void Lance, your most powerful weapon, cannot harm us." Krell stood rigid, watching his mighty fleet scattered and in disarray. Over 100 ships lost to their own weapon, hundreds more damaged or disabled. The immortal Dominion itself had barely escaped the gravitational pull, its massive engines straining beyond safety limits. "How?" he finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "How did a young species like yours develop such technology?" Chen's expression softened slightly. "Because we had to, Admiral. Earth's history is filled with conflict. We nearly destroyed ourselves more than once. When we finally reached the stars, we vowed never to be vulnerable again." "You've been watching us," Krell realized. "For how long?" 50 of your years, Chen confirmed. "Since your forces subjugated the Arcturian civilization, we witnessed their fall. We learned from it. The bridge of the immortal Dominion had fallen silent, all attention focused on the human captain's words. We could end this now," Chen continued. "The Defiant could eliminate your entire fleet in minutes, but that is not our way. Not unless you force our hand." For the first time in his long career, Admiral Krell of the Galactic Hegemony felt something he had never experienced before: doubt. Not just in his ability to win this battle, but in the fundamental beliefs that had guided his civilization for millennia. That technological superiority granted the right to rule, that stronger species were destined to dominate the weaker. These humans, with their single miracle ship and their small fleet, had shattered those beliefs in less than a day. "Admiral," Sub-Commander Vex whispered from beside him, "our fleet is at 40% combat effectiveness. We cannot win this engagement." Krell's mandibles tightened against his face. Pride warred with pragmatism in his mind as he considered options that had previously been unthinkable. "Captain Chen," he finally said, his voice restored to its commanding tone, "you have made your point. I will order a temporary cessation of hostilities while I consult with the Hegemony Council." It wasn't surrender. Krell would never call it that. But as the orders went out for the fleet to withdraw to the system's edge, he knew everything had changed. The galaxy had become a much more complicated place, and the humans, with their quantum displacement technology and their strange reluctance to destroy their enemies, would be at the center of whatever came next. Victory and aftermath. The Hegemony fleet hung at the edge of the solar system, a constellation of wounded predators licking their wounds. Emergency repairs continued across hundreds of vessels, while the command staff of the Immortal Dominion engaged in the most unusual activity in the history of the Galactic Hegemony: genuine debate. "The Council has responded to our situation report," Sub-Commander Vex announced, entering the Admiral's private strategy room where senior officers had gathered. "They are displeased." "Did they offer any useful guidance?" Krell asked, his skin patterns showing exhaustion after 30 continuous hours of crisis management. "They ordered us to subjugate the humans at all costs," Vex replied, her mandibles twitching in what might have been irony. "The Supreme Counselor specifically mentioned that the Hegemony cannot tolerate a technological rival." A bitter sound escaped Krell's breathing spiracles, the Octavian equivalent of a laugh. "They don't understand. They haven't seen what we've seen." Fleet Commander Zoth, a veteran of countless campaigns, leaned forward. "Admiral, the humans have not pressed their advantage. Their fleet maintains a defensive position. The Defiant has not moved from its station near their homeworld. Why not? If their technology is as superior as it appears, why not finish us?" Captain Chen claimed it's not their way, Krell mused. "I believed it political posturing at the time, but now I'm not so certain." "Admiral," interrupted the strategic analyst, a six-limbed arachnid whose cranial capacity was twice that of the average Octavian. "I've completed my assessment of the Defiant's capabilities based on sensor data. If my calculations are correct, their quantum displacement technology doesn't just relocate matter. It manipulates the fundamental fabric of space-time itself." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Such technology could, in theory, delete anything from reality. The analyst continued. Not just ships, but planets, stars, entire systems. If the humans wanted us destroyed, we would already be gone. Krell's skin flickered with complex patterns of thought. Then why reveal themselves to us at all? Why not remain hidden until their entire fleet was equipped with this technology? Perhaps, Vex suggested carefully, they genuinely desire coexistence, as Captain Chen claimed. The concept was so foreign to hegemony thinking that several officers visibly recoiled. For millennia, the doctrine of the galactic hegemony had been simple: subjugate or be subjugated. The strong rule, the weak serve. The idea of willingly sharing the galaxy with another powerful species had no precedent. Admiral, the communications officer called from the doorway. Captain Chen is requesting another direct conversation. She says it's urgent. Krell hesitated, then nodded. Put her through to this room. The holographic display flickered to life, showing Captain Chen seated in what appeared to be a small functional office rather than a warship bridge. She looked tired but composed. Admiral Krell, she greeted him. Thank you for accepting my call. I'll be direct. We've detected significant quantum fluctuations from your flagship. Our analysis suggests you're preparing to deploy another weapon system, possibly more dangerous than the Void Lance. Krell's upper eyes blinked in genuine surprise. We have initiated no such. An alarm blared across both the human transmission and the Immortal Dominion's internal systems simultaneously. Admiral, the tactical officer shouted, rushing into the strategy room. The Transcendence Protocol has activated. We didn't authorize it. The system initiated autonomously. Krell's skin went ashen. The Transcendence Protocol was the hegemony's ultimate failsafe, installed in all flagships but never used in its 1,000-year history. It was designed to convert the entire mass of the vessel into pure energy, a final act of defiance that would take enemies with it in death. Override it, Krell ordered, panic evident in his voice. We can't, sir. The system has locked us out. On the holographic display, Captain Chen was barking orders to someone off-screen. Admiral, she said urgently, evacuate your vessel immediately. We're detecting a cascading quantum reaction in your power core. We can't stop it, Krell admitted, a strange calm settling over him as he accepted the inevitable. The Transcendence Protocol was designed to be irreversible once initiated, a final weapon that cannot be countered. Chen's eyes narrowed. Authorization code. What? Your flagship's main computer. What's the highest authorization code? Understanding dawned on Krell. Alpha Zero Omega Prime, hegemony eternal. But it won't work. The system doesn't accept override commands once initiated. That's because you're trying to override it using its own protocols, Chen said, fingers flying across a control panel. We're going to try something different. The image of Chen disappeared, replaced by a stream of data flowing too fast for even Krell's 4 eyes to track. The Defiant, previously stationary near Earth, suddenly vanished from the tactical display. Where did it go? Vex asked, alarmed. As if in answer, a blue shimmer appeared on the bridge of the Immortal Dominion. It expanded rapidly, forming a doorway of light. Through it stepped Captain Maya Chen, accompanied by 2 humans in specialized suits carrying equipment unlike anything the hegemony had ever seen. Krell's security team raised weapons, but he waved them down. What is happening? How are you here? Quantum displacement, Chen explained tersely, her team already moving toward the flagship's main computer terminal. We've physically transported aboard your vessel. We have approximately 4 minutes before the Transcendence Protocol completes its sequence. The 2 technicians connected their devices to the hegemony computer system, bypassing security measures as if they didn't exist. Streams of alien code flowed across the screens. This wasn't your doing, Chen asked, looking directly at Krell. No, the Admiral admitted. The system activated on its own. I would never. Remote trigger, one of the human technicians called out. External signal activated the sequence. Origin. He looked up, expression grim. It came from your capital world. A cold realization washed over Krell. The Council. They would rather destroy our entire fleet than accept diplomatic relations with your species. Chen's face hardened. 3 minutes left. We need to work fast. What followed was the most extraordinary display of technological mastery Krell had ever witnessed. The human technicians didn't try to override the Transcendence Protocol. They rewrote it, altering its fundamental code while it was executing. It was like watching surgeons operate on a patient's heart while it was still beating. Admiral, one of Krell's engineers protested. They're accessing our most classified systems. Let them work, Krell ordered. Unless you have a better solution for preventing all of us from being atomized in the next 2 minutes. The bridge fell silent except for the urgent murmurs of the human technicians and the increasingly frantic alerts from the ship's computer. The quantum fluctuations grew stronger, making the air itself seem to waver like heat rising from desert sands. Got it, one of the technicians finally announced, redirecting the energy cascade. The ship shuddered violently. On the tactical display, a massive energy surge appeared near the immortal Dominion, but outside the ship, not within it. What did you do? Krell asked, astonished. We couldn't stop the protocol entirely, Chen explained, but we managed to shunt the quantum reaction outside your ship. The energy is dissipating harmlessly into space instead of converting your vessel's mass. The emergency alerts fell silent. The quantum fluctuation stabilized, then gradually diminished. The immortal Dominion, pride of the hegemony fleet, had survived what was designed to be an unsurvivable event. You saved us, Krell said, all 4 eyes fixed on the human captain. Why? Chen met his gaze steadily. Because that's who we are, Admiral. Humans don't seek annihilation, not even of our enemies. We want to live, to explore, to grow. And we believe you have the same right. Krell's skin displayed patterns of deep confusion, then slowly shifted to something rarely seen on an Octavian of his rank, humility. Your council tried to remotely destroy your flagship with you aboard, Chen continued. They were willing to sacrifice you and your entire crew to maintain their ideology of dominance. Is that the leadership you're fighting for? Before Krell could respond, the communications officer called out, Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from multiple ships in the fleet. They witnessed the energy discharge and the Defiance intervention. They're asking for confirmation that the humans saved the immortal Dominion. The strategic room fell silent as everyone turned to Krell. This moment, he realized, would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but potentially the future of the hegemony itself. Confirm it, he said finally. Tell them exactly what happened. The Council attempted to activate our Transcendence Protocol. The humans prevented it, saving everyone aboard. The silence deepened as the weight of these words settled across the room. What Krell had just done was unprecedented, openly contradicting the Council, revealing their willingness to sacrifice their own forces. Admiral, Vex whispered, this is effectively. I know what it is, Krell interrupted. It's the truth, and it's long overdue. He turned back to Captain Chen, his skin now displaying the formal patterns of diplomatic engagement. Captain, I would like to officially request a cessation of hostilities between our forces and the opening of diplomatic channels between humanity and the galactic hegemony, or at least the portion of it under my command. Chen's expression remained cautious. Are you authorized to make such an offer, Admiral? After what we've just learned about the Council's actions, I am taking the authority, Krell replied firmly. My fleet commanders will support this decision, especially after witnessing today's events. For the first time, a genuine smile appeared on Captain Chen's face. Then on behalf of the United Earth Government, I accept. The bridge erupted in a mixture of reactions: relief, uncertainty, and in some cases, outright shock. Centuries of hegemony doctrine were being rewritten in real time. There will be resistance, Krell cautioned. The Council will not accept this easily. Revolutions never come easily, Admiral, Chen replied. But they come nevertheless when the time is right. As the human technicians prepared to return to the Defiant, Chen paused. Your engineers should examine what we did to your systems. You'll find we've left something behind. A complete technical analysis of your Transcendence Protocol, including its vulnerabilities. Consider it a gesture of good faith. Krell's mandibles clicked in surprise. You're giving us information that could help us defend against your techniques. As I said, Admiral, we don't seek dominance. We seek coexistence. Balanced power creates stability. After the humans departed, simply vanishing in a shimmer of blue light, Krell stood motionless for several long moments, processing everything that had occurred. Then he turned to his assembled officers. Send word to all ships, he commanded. The war with humanity is over, and our revolution has just begun. In the days that followed, the galaxy witnessed something unprecedented. 3/4 of the hegemony fleet, led by Admiral Krell aboard the Immortal Dominion, formally broke from the Council's authority. They established a provisional government in orbit around Earth, working with human diplomats to draft a new interstellar charter based on mutual respect and technological exchange. The human ship Defiant became the symbol of this new era, not because of the devastating power it could unleash, but because of the power it chose not to use. Its quantum displacement technology had rendered traditional warfare obsolete, forcing a species that had lived by conquest for millennia to consider a different path. On the observation deck of the Immortal Dominion, Admiral Krell stood beside Captain Maya Chen, watching as human and hegemony engineers worked together on a joint project. Your council has ordered the Loyalist fleet to attack, Chen noted. They'll be here within the week. Krell's skin displayed confidence. They will find more than they bargained for. Our combined defensive capabilities are formidable. True, Chen agreed. But I hope it doesn't come to that. You still believe we can avoid further bloodshed? Krell asked, skepticism evident in his tone. Chen smiled, her eyes on the stars beyond the viewport. Admiral, a week ago, you commanded the vanguard of an invasion fleet. Today, you're helping establish the foundation for peaceful coexistence between our civilizations. If that change is possible, anything is. Krell considered this, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, an Octavian expression of thoughtful agreement. Perhaps, he conceded, that is humanity's most remarkable technology after all. Not your quantum displacement drives or your energy fields, but your capacity to imagine alternatives to conflict, to see potential allies where others see only enemies. It's not technology, Admiral, Chen replied. It's wisdom. And it took us nearly destroying ourselves to learn it. Together, they watched as a small craft departed the joint work.